Welcome to Sacred Magic. Violet is on a quest to bring sacredness back into our everyday experiences. Anyone can have an extraordinary life when they are able to tap into their sacred magic within. Violet and her guests will be sharing their divine passions, inspirations, and stories of connecting with their sacred magic. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Vialet Rayne.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Vialet Rayne, and today I have with me Laura Marie Rubin. She's a reform hustle bunny, queen of joy, lover of life, play-ologist, horse whisperer, and spiritual guide-ess. After years of riding the hustle train, she made the courageous decision to take back control of her life. Her journey has led her from a life of default to a life of design. Now she's on a mission to educate, empower, inspire ambitious women to step into their courage, defy their status quo, think outside the box, and buck the system in pursuit of the highest good and heart's desires, both personally and professionally. As a wild, awake woman, Laura Marie encourages her clients to let go of the hustle and step into a life of purpose, fulfillment, reigniting their inner flame. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Violet. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a big transition of moving from hustle into this type of life. So tell us your story. What happened and how did you have the courage to do this?
You bet. I appreciate the question. So I checked off all the boxes. College, marriage, career, all the things that was modeled for me, that this was how to have a successful life. This is what you need to do and you'll be happy. And so I did all those things and I checked something off the box, or checked the box off, and there was still no fulfillment. I was still missing something. I'm like, oh, must be me. I need to get back on that hustle train and do that next thing. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? Constantly striving for external validation, external things that would make me feel happy. The bank account, the car, the nice house, all of those things. And then I hit midlife and I lost my job. And it was a catalyst for me to really examine where I had been and how did I want to spend the rest of my life. At 40, 45, my fingers crossed, I have 50 more years in front of me at that point, and I didn't want to live them hopping from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. I felt like I was ready to really discover who I was. And what I realized was that I had been living in my masculine energy in a big way, and it had served me well. Structure, productivity, getting the job done. But I realized I kind of missed the feminine energy, the flow, the compassion, the empathy, the rest, the reflection, the intuition, all of those things. And so then at about 45, I went on my journey to discover and tap in to that side of my energy while still maintaining my masculine energy, because I believe that you've got to integrate the two together. And so that's been my journey, and it still is my journey.
I love that. And I think about, as you're saying that, the world, because we're moving out of the Pisces age into the Aquarian age, which is moving from masculine structure into this feminine energy. And I think a lot of women have lost what that really means, and they don't understand the power that comes with that. And I do believe there needs to be balance, but I think the majority of people in the world have been on the masculine side of everything. And that's what society has taught us,
Right.
that we need to work hard, we need to have structure, we need to have a plan, we need to go to college, we need to do all those things, which is interesting because the generations coming in are like, I'm not sure that's what I want to do.
Yes, they're actually getting it. When I went to college, there was no discussion that I would go to college, but there was no discussion that there was an option for me not to go to college. It was just understood in the family that college was the next step after high school. And, I really find it fascinating that the generation now is like, do I really need to go to college? Is that something that is going to benefit me and fulfill me? And I kudos to them for actually taking the time to step back and determine, what's right for them. Because I never determined what was right for me. I just did what I thought, without much thought, what was modeled, the next thing and the next thing. So yeah, I think it's
Well,
great.
I think that was our generation, right?
Yes,
That's what happened. And the new generation coming in is like, nope, not doing that. But here's the challenge, I think, for those of us in this generation, higher or below. We got so used to that norm. And I think COVID hit us way to the other side. And we're all still going, what are we supposed to be doing? Marketing doesn't work the same way. Business doesn't work the same way. How we shop doesn't work the same way. Restaurants are changing everything. If you look around and really step back and look, everything in our lives, to education, to retail, to everything, finance, everything has changed. And you're like, what worked yesterday doesn't work anymore. So then it's like, okay, what does this mean? And I think that's for life too, and how we look at life. And everybody's trying to figure out how to navigate these new energies. So kudos to you to be doing that and figuring that out. And I think one of the most perfect times to be making that shift, honestly, because I think there are people out there still trying to figure out what that looks like for them.
Yeah, definitely. But that's part of the fun when you realize, at least for me, when I realized I needed to change, that I did not want it to be the same. And then it took me it was like, but what does this look like? Oh my gosh, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And then to change the lens to and being fearful about what this looks like, and then changing the lens to curiosity and possibility. What could this look like? What could this look like for me? How could I show up? How can I do things different? And to look at life as an adventure. And that was the mindset shift that I needed to be able to step into things that sometimes was a great idea, sometimes wasn't a great idea, but it's like, okay, that wasn't a good one. Let's pick a different one, kind of thing. But life's now an adventure, and life really should be an adventure from the beginning. It just took me till 45 to step into that.
And I'm sure you get clients today. I can see this right now because I see clients. I don't know what's different. I don't know what else to do. I don't know what that looks like. I don't even know where to start to see it differently. So how am I supposed? I don't know, because the big question, if you ask people, and those of you listening, think about this: what is joy to you, and how do you create joy? People get this blank. Total blank look on their face because they don't know what that means. Right?
And that's exactly right. And that's where I started to work with women to deepen their connection to joy, because they, just exactly as you said, what brings you joy? What lights you up? Their eyes get really big. Also, the question, what are your core values? Their eyes get big. So they have ideas of what they think is important, but is it truly a core value? Have they really, dug into what that means and how that shows up in their life? Yes. We've just been, I either say we're either on the hamster wheel or we're on autopilot, and we are vacillating between both, and we don't know who we are on either one of those.
No, we've let others define us. Our parents, our teachers, our partners, our friends, they have all influenced us into who we are today on some scale. And when you ask people, okay, I want you to define your authentic self. What is your truth? So everything in your life, you should question, is that my truth, or is that something that someone told me I was supposed to believe and I took it as my truth? So what does your truth look like? And that's a deep dive for anyone trying to figure that out, because I think most people, like you said, they're the zombies. They're walking in their sleep. They have no idea what each day is about or what they're doing. They're just repeating the day before, right? In that autopilot, which we call.
Yep.
And so I definitely see that. So talk to us a little bit about living intentionally. What does that mean by living intentionally?
So I think we've started to talk about it in what are your core values? When you know what makes you tick and what is important to you, when you're asked a question, a yes or no question, like, do you want to do X? Do you want to be involved in X? You can gauge that against what your core values are. And now it's easy to make a yes or no. You know what your yeses are, you know what your nos are. And I will say a lot of times we can figure out our no's before we figure out our yeses. So starting with what your no's are can lead you to what your yeses are and what lights you up. So I'm going to look at, what's my core value? What so that when a question comes across my desk, comes, to me, I know that I'm answering based on what's important to me. I'm not saying yes to something because I feel like, oh, I should say yes to this. And as you were saying, doing things because you've been told to do it this way or that way, is the way that you're doing things, to examine that, is that really how I want to do it? And maybe it is. I mean, it very well could be how you want to do it, but if it's not, how do you want to do that? What do you want to do? And it really starts with the first thing that I always talk about is you want to create some spaciousness in your life. Instead of going from thing to thing to thing, it could even take 5 minutes where you just stop long enough, maybe with your cup of coffee in the morning. Enjoy that cup of coffee. Really use your five senses to tap into, what does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does the coffee mug feel like in your hands? All of those things. Because I think that you'll appreciate this, we live above our shoulders all the time. We're very good at living in our minds. So it's about tapping back into to our five senses so that we can experience life from that. And then we start being able to, when something doesn't feel right, we're aware of it. It feels like a pit in our stomach, or the hair on the back of our neck stands up. Those are signs, those are signals that our body is giving to us in order to reflect on what's going on, to make a decision that's good for us.
So you've been talking about core values, and Spirit's giving me this question. Ask her what a core value is. Give us some examples of core values, because I'm sure people are listening going, I don't even know what that means.
So for me, and you mentioned core value for me, living in joy. So joy for me, I want to approach everything with an essence of joy, whether it's a good situation or it's a negative situation. Joy is number one. I'm looking for, every time I step in to a situation, I am looking at bringing joy into it. I show up as joy, so I emanate joy into the situation, and I also, operate from a place of joy. So that's a core value for me. Core value could be integrity, could be loyalty, could be honesty. There's so many great words out there. Vibrancy, you can live as a vibrant being. That's a core value. And when you determine from the words, you'll kind of you will create a phrase. At least I help my clients create a phrase around it, because every word means something different to someone else. So what's the phrase that goes along with that? So for me, I want to live in joy. I want to express joy in every situation where I'm at. That is a core value for me.
I love that. I love that. As you're saying that, the things that come to mind for me that are core for me is love, sacredness, and compassion. So
Yeah.
those are my three big things. I love sacredness, and most people have no idea what sacredness is. And so when I speak on sacredness, nobody shows up because they think it's related to religion or organizational truths. They don't really understand what sacredness is. To me, love is so important. If we can love each other and be in that space of love. But I also know, which you probably know, there are shadow and light aspects to every word, right? They're just the opposite that's going to happen. And I think no matter what word you choose, and that's the one thing I've learned, is I have people choose a word for the year. What you have to understand is when you choose that word, you're going to experience the shadow of not having it and the light of having it, because that's how we grow and expand and evolve. And there's no perfect word out there that doesn't have a shadow aspect. So as you step into your values or your words, it's understanding that that's part of our lessons or challenges or opportunities of growth, is experiencing the opposite of compassion and experiencing what compassion is, because that's part of this experience, right? It's part of being here. It's not a bad or a good thing. It's just, it's us learning how to navigate those different energies in the best way that we can, hopefully consciously aware and intentional in what we're doing, right? So
Yep.
just
Well,
playing on what you're
yeah,
saying as well.
and I think I totally agree. You have to have the duality of those words, because how do you know what something is truly joyful if you don't know the sadness? Honestly, if you don't know the opposite, then you really don't know what joy is, or whatever, the other side of that word is. You appreciate more the core value when you have grown through the opposite of what it is, the darker side of it.
It's really true. And we all use words differently. So I'll give you an example. When my husband and I got married about 8 years ago, I do this magical mirror every year where I set my intentions on a mirror to reflect back to us. And I wrote on the mirror joy, because I love joy.
Yeah.
He's like, joy doesn't exist. Happy. Right?
Yes.
Right? So that's perspective, because he believes in some level that joy is just a minute, second expression that you might get every once in a while, but happy is achievable. And isn't that interesting to have those? And we argued back and forth. And if I go, you have happy, I'll have joy, and we'll meet in the middle, right? So you're right with words. All the words that we choose and pick, there's a personal connection to those different words. And we would all define it somewhat differently as we look at every word, honestly. And it's based on our filter and our experience. So I really love that. So you talk about rest and play as a productivity tool, and those seem counterproductive. So I can't wait to hear what that means.
You bet. So the rest is the time period that we let our brains just slow down, calm down. Now, rest can be walking in nature, walking your dog. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that, you're sleeping in a hammock outside. Now you can, that sounds delightful, but rest can also be, because some people, when you tell them rest, they're like, I can't not do anything. I can't, it's like meditating. I can't just sit and, all these thoughts come. So if resting for you is going for a hike, which can be rest and play at the same time, if rest for you is walking your dog or being in nature, or going to the park with your child and just pushing your child on the swing, that if that's rest, because you have let the everyday zing 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 here there all of that just kind of slow down and dissipate, that's rest. If reading a book is restful for you, that counts. That totally counts. The play part, like, go to the park, go hiking, go. So, they kind of integrate together depending on what works for you. And here's the thing about play also, and rest. Everybody rests differently, everybody plays differently, and there's no right or wrong. When I say play, that doesn't mean you have to go kick the ball around, or sometimes I actually go to the park and swing on a swing, but that might not be your idea of play. Maybe your idea of play is to plan an event or to plan a dinner party. That's play for you. Okay, that counts. Whatever takes you out of the everyday worry, the mind chatter, and you get lost in it and so absorbed in it, that's play. That's playful in a positive way.
I love that definition, because as you're talking, okay, I'm going to share a little bit about my life. I'm I have to be doing something every minute. So I'm the person that watches TV with my computer on my lap, and I'm working constantly. And so it's interesting. She's talking about play. It drives my husband crazy because I have a business and I work 24/7. But for me, that's play. Writing books is play for me. So when I'm sitting on the couch watching TV that has, I don't have to pay attention. I can come in and out, and I'm writing and I'm absorbed in the book. that to me is play. That's my happy place. I take a week off. I want to write. I write books all the time. So writing is my play. And I never thought of it as play until today. So thank you for that piece. And resting my mind is hard because I've been hyperactive all my life. So my mind is continually going until I lay down. But rest is something I'm good at because I love 9 to 10 hours of sleep of a
There you
night
go.
because my body shuts down and that's its time to rest. So when I don't get that, I notice that. So I love your definitions of that. I think that is so awesome. So thank you for sharing. And
You're
I
welcome.
agree with you. Play can be lots of things. Some people love to go to a sound bath. Some people like to paint. Some people like to do a craft. That's their play. And the one thing that I do know is as adults, when we grow up, we kind of resist play. You know, I'm supposed to be responsible and accountable, so I can't take time to play. And that's the reason I do so many play shops throughout the year, is to give adults the opportunity to really take an hour, 2 hours to do something fun and childlike and playful.
Yep.
And it is so healthy for us, whether that's my psychic tea parties or my fairy parties or my dragon parties or my unicorn parties. Those are all meant for us to escape our reality for a little bit and have fun like a child would. Because we don't do that naturally like we did when we were children. And
Definitely. We've definitely been taught to squelch the wonder and awe of being a child. You know, we lose recess. Look at sixth grade, that's it. You're done. No more recess. No more going out on the playground and just playing just to play. You know, now we have organized sports, and you know, there's nothing wrong with organized sports, but it's organized. There's rules you have to follow. There's all of that. If you're painting, you're going to art class. So there's rules in art class. You know, after when recess and when we're done with elementary school, that play to just play kind of goes away, and we're not modeled that it's okay to continue that, but we can do that.
Yeah, that's true. And to get outside, I think about my childhood in comparison to the childhood of my grandchildren, right? We were climbing trees and going barefoot through the creek and making mud pies and catching fireflies and outside doing stuff. And kids today, you know, rarely do they want to be outside playing and in nature, in the sun, and using their imagination to create. And, you know, I was always playing some adventure outside, right?
Exactly.
And I think we miss that play, that daydream, that imagination. So being able to bring some of that in is really, really important for all of us. Share a little bit about what you offer as far as sessions and opportunities that people can connect with you, because maybe they want to learn what their core values are and learn how to unplug. So what can they do to connect to be able to do some of that?
You bet. So my favorite thing to do is to curate experiences that for women that deepen their connection to joy. So it's all about the experiences, all about the activities. So I do that in a private level. I do that in group settings. And one of the things that we always talk about, core values, we start with that. We paint, we play, we dance. I have horses, so we go connect with the horses, which is just a fabulous way to really bring out our inner child in the barn. It's just incredible. So I offer those. They're all in person. However, I do have a free audio series that can be found on my website, Unlocking the 5 Secrets of a Wild Awake Woman. Goes through 5 different pillars: the spaciousness, self-care, connection, intentional living, and then ends with play and adventure. So they're just quick audios to kind of get people thinking about what each of those is, how it can look like in their life. And there's also a workbook with that and journal prompts and things like that. So they can go as deep or as if they just want a quick quick audio to listen to. And I've entitled them Shower Sparks, because the idea is, where do we get our best ideas? In the shower. And so the idea is to listen to the audio before you step into the shower. And it ends with a thought-provoking question. And it just kind of, immerse yourself in that question as you take your shower. So that's been really fun. And then I also have a visualization for being a wild awake woman that's also on there that they can download and just kind of like close their eyes and envision, what does it look like to be a wild awake woman.
I love that. So awesome. I love getting my ideas in the shower. Do you guys like to get your ideas?
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of the best things come in that shower moment or while you're driving, because your mind is focused on where you're going. It allows the rest of your mind to really bring in some information. I think my guides sit in my car and talk to me like crazy when I'm driving. I think my car's full. It may just have me in it physically, but there's a lot of other stuff going on.
I love it. I love it. And driving is actually, because so I'm going to say, there is something to be said for autopilot. If you're going to the grocery store that you go to all the time, you are driving on autopilot, literally. I mean, you are aware of what's going on, but you don't have to think, I have to go 5 stoplights, then I'm going to make a left. And that is the time when autopilot can be somewhat beneficial, because it allows your spirit guides or whatever you have to bring those great ideas to you while you're driving.
Right. It's a great way. So I had somebody ask me this weekend, she's like, I can't ever meditate. And so I was like, okay, let's stop. What do you think meditation is? And she goes, well, sitting still and chatter. And I said, let me expand your consciousness here a little bit. Meditation is coloring in a book without TV or radio and letting your mind focus on the coloring so that you can bring in. Meditation is tracing. Meditation is walking a labyrinth. Meditation is being out in nature and taking a walk and just, you know where you're going and you know that path, and you're just kind of giving your mind something to focus on so the rest of your mind can communicate and connect with you. That is meditation. You talked about drinking your coffee or your tea in the morning and really enjoying it and being in that stillness. That's meditation. Meditation is more than going for 2 hours.
Yes, agreed. And most of us, I will say, I can't do that. No, I'm not doing that. I'm doing the meditation that you're describing. That's what works for me, because I can't sit and be quiet. My mind does chatter, and there are times it, comes.
Yep, I get that. Even when you're swinging, right? I bet you're meditating, right?
Yeah,
so
you bet.
All that comes in. Well, Laura, thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope those viewing have gotten a lot out of it. So thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
It's been awesome. Thank you for watching or listening, wherever you're listening or watching from. Please make sure that you like and comment and follow us on your favorite platforms. And we hope that we will see you again in the near future, or that we'll reconnect then. Have a sacred and magical week. And thanks so much for taking the time to spend some time with us today.